Hey there, imagine this. A young woman, full of life, excited for a getaway with her closest friends, lands in a tropical paradise, a dream vacation. But within 24 hours, she's dead. How does that even happen? This isn't just another tragic accident. This is a case full of lies, betrayal, and a shocking video that changed everything. So here's the question. What really happened to Shanquella Robinson in that luxury villa in Cabo San Lucas? And more importantly, why has no one been held accountable? Buckle up, this case is as heartbreaking as it is infuriating, and by the end, I guarantee y'all be asking the same question as the rest of the world. Where is the justice? Late October 2022, 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson was getting ready for the trip of a lifetime. She was a young entrepreneur, a woman full of ambition. She owned a successful hair braiding business and a fashion boutique. Her future was bright. This wasn't just any trip. It was a luxury getaway to Cabo San Lucas, Mexico with 6 of her friends. A high-end villa, ocean views, good vibes, everything was supposed to be perfect. But what if I told you that not all friends have good intentions? Within just 1 day of their arrival, Shanquella was dead, and the people she trusted the most, they were at the center of the mystery. Back in Charlotte, North Carolina, Shanquella's mother, Salamandra Robinson, was waiting for an update. She expected her daughter to call, full of excitement about the beach, the food, the fun. Instead, she got a call that no parent should ever receive. One of Shanquella's friends called her in a panic. Her daughter was gone. The reason? Alcohol poisoning. That's what they told her. A tragic accident. A night of drinking gone wrong. At first, Salamandra tried to process the unthinkable, but something felt off. How could her healthy, athletic daughter just die from alcohol poisoning? Why weren't her friends acting more devastated? And why were they all rushing back to the US without her body? Something wasn't adding up. And what came next proved that someone was lying. Now, here's where things take a disturbing turn. When Mexican authorities conducted an autopsy, the findings were shocking and they completely contradicted what Shanquella's friends had told her family. Shanquella's neck was broken. Her spinal cord was severely injured. There was no mention of alcohol poisoning. Wait, what? So, if alcohol wasn't the cause of death, why did her friends lie? Think about it. Why would 6 people all tell the same false story? Were they trying to cover something up? Or was someone afraid of the truth getting out? At this point, one thing was certain: this wasn't an accident. And the answers were about to get a lot darker, because soon the world would see the truth for themselves. And it came in the form of a shocking viral video. Then came the bombshell. A video surfaced online, and it was worse than anyone could have imagined. In the footage, Shanquella is naked, visibly disoriented, and unable to fight back. And then one of her so-called friends attacks her. Punches, kicks, brutal force. It was violent, merciless, completely one-sided. And the worst part, someone was recording it, but not just recording, cheering it on. In the background, a male voice is heard egging on the assault. At least fight back. But she didn't fight back. She couldn't. She wasn't defending herself. She was just taking the blows. Why would her own friends do this to her? Was this a planned attack? A setup? Or did something go horribly wrong? This was no longer just a case of alcohol poisoning. This was a crime, and the world wanted justice. But before we go further, we need to answer a critical question. Who were these people, and why did they all stay silent? Let's talk about the 6 people who were with Shanquella on this trip. Were they really her friends? Because let's be honest, real friends don't just sit there while you're being beaten. Yet, Not one of them stepped in to help. Not one. And here's what makes it worse. Someone recorded the attack. Someone stood there and did nothing. Someone encouraged the violence. And all of them lied to Shanquella's family. Why? Were they trying to protect the attacker? Was there something bigger they were hiding? Or did they all just make a pact to cover it up? Because here's what makes no sense. Why did they all return home as if nothing happened? They left Shanquella's body in Mexico and flew back to the US like it was just another trip. No remorse, no panic, just silence. Does that sound like the actions of innocent people? At this point, one thing was clear: this wasn't just a tragic death. This was a potential homicide. And the world was watching. Shanquella's parents were devastated, but they weren't about to sit back and accept the lies. They knew their daughter didn't die from alcohol poisoning. They knew something terrible had happened in that villa. So they demanded answers. They reached out to the FBI. They pushed Mexican authorities to investigate. They refused to let this case be ignored. And soon, the authorities identified a prime suspect, the woman seen viciously beating Shanquella in the viral video. Mexican prosecutors labeled her the direct aggressor. But here's the question: would she actually be arrested? Because as we all know, just because someone is caught on camera doesn't mean justice is guaranteed. And in this case, justice was about to hit a massive roadblock. In November 2022, Mexican prosecutors took a huge step forward. They officially issued an arrest warrant for the woman in the video. This wasn't just a case of simple assault. They classified it as femicide, a term used in Mexico for gender-based homicide. And here's what makes this huge. They wanted the suspect extradited to Mexico. She would face charges under Mexican law. She could serve time in a Mexican prison. For a moment, it looked like justice might actually happen. But then, the case hit a major snag. Because despite the clear evidence, the US wasn't moving fast. In fact, they weren't moving at all. And justice for Shanquella still on hold. Months passed. Nothing happened. And then, in April 2023, the US Department of Justice made a decision that shocked everyone. They declined to press charges against anyone involved. Let's pause here. What? There was a video of an assault, a broken neck, a lie about alcohol poisoning. And the US authorities still said, not enough evidence. How much more do they need? Does someone need to confess on camera? Does the attack need to be even more brutal than what we already saw? Or is this just another case of a black woman's murder being ignored? Because let's be honest, if this were a wealthy white woman from an influential family, would things have played out the same way? Or would justice have moved a lot faster? These are the uncomfortable questions we need to ask. Because right now, Shanquella's killer is walking free. And that should terrify all of us. When the news broke that no one would be arrested, the public exploded in outrage. How could this happen? A US citizen was killed in a foreign country. There was video evidence of the attack, a broken neck, a severed spinal cord, a clear suspect, and yet nothing. No arrests, no accountability, no justice. Social media erupted. People were furious. #Justice for Shanquella started trending. Thousands of people demanded action. Celebrities, activists, and even politicians spoke out. But from the authorities, silence. What does that say about the justice system? If a brutal attack caught on camera isn't enough to convict someone, what is? And if they can get away with it this time, what's stopping it from happening again? This wasn't just about Shanquella anymore. This was about something bigger. Let's take a step back, because this case is filled with unanswered questions. Why did her so-called friends lie? Who recorded the attack and why didn't they stop it? What really happened in that villa before Shanquella died? Was this planned? Or did something escalate out of control? Because here's the thing, there's still more we don't know. What happened in the hours before the attack? Did someone else hurt her after the video was recorded? Why did everyone on that trip stick to the same fake story? And the biggest question of all, will anyone ever be held accountable? Because right now, the people who were with her when she died are living their lives like nothing happened. How is that okay? While the world demanded answers, one family refused to give up. Shanquella's parents are still fighting. They have hired legal experts to investigate further, pushed authorities to reopen the case, kept her name in the spotlight to make sure the world doesn't forget. But here's the harsh reality: without more public pressure, will this case just fade away? Because here's the terrifying truth. When people stop talking about a case, it dies. And if justice dies with it, then what message does that send? That you can kill someone, cover it up, and get away with it. That some lives don't matter as much as others. Shanquella deserves better. And so does every other victim whose story is never told. Whenever a case like this makes headlines, there are always skeptics. Some people try to find another explanation, something that would make this whole situation seem like just a tragic accident. They asked, could Shanquella have had an underlying health condition? Maybe she suffered from a pre-existing injury that made her more vulnerable. Or could this have just been an accident, a fall, a misunderstanding? But let's be real. A broken neck and severed spinal cord? That's not an accident. And then there is the video. We saw it. The world saw it. Shanquella was beaten violently, mercilessly. She wasn't fighting back. She wasn't defending herself. She was helpless while someone kept attacking her. And let's not forget her so-called friends lied about it. If this was just a medical tragedy, why cover it up? Why tell her family she died from alcohol poisoning? Why rush back to the US without her body? No, this wasn't an accident. This was something else entirely. Now, here's a question we really need to ask. If that video had never surfaced, would anyone have even investigated this case? Think about it. How many times have we seen cases where the police rule something an accident only for new evidence to prove otherwise? If this video hadn't gone viral, would the world have just accepted the alcohol poisoning story? Because let's be honest, authorities weren't exactly moving quickly on this. And that raises another disturbing reality. How many cases go unnoticed every single day? How many victims never get justice simply because their story doesn't make it to social media? In a way, the internet is the only reason people are still talking about this case. But is that what it takes now? A brutal video? A hashtag? Public outrage? If so, what does that say about our justice system? One reason for the lack of justice in this case: it happened outside the US. And when a crime happens in a foreign country, things get complicated. Different laws, different jurisdictions, and a whole lot of red tape. But here's what doesn't make sense. There's an arrest warrant. There's a prime suspect. Mexico wants the suspect extradited to face charges. So why hasn't it happened? Why is the US acting like their hands are tied? Let's be clear, extradition happens all the time. The US has no problem sending people overseas to face justice when they want to. So why is this case different? Is it because Shanquella was black? Is it because the US doesn't want to be involved? Or is it something else entirely? Because right now, the message this case is sending is terrifying. It's saying, if you get killed abroad, don't expect justice. And worse, if your killers come home, they might just walk free. Is that really the world we live in? What really happened in that villa? We know what the video showed, but what about the moments before? Was this fight planned? Did they lure her there on purpose just to hurt her? Or was it a spontaneous attack that spiraled out of control? Here's what we do know. Shanquella arrived in Cabo excited and ready for a vacation. Within 24 hours, she was dead. Her friends left her behind. They lied. They tried to cover it up. Why? What were they so desperate to hide? Did they think no one would question it? Did they assume Shanquella's family wouldn't push for answers? One thing is certain, Shanquella never made it home. And the people she trusted most, they made sure she never would. Shanquella's family isn't giving up. Neither is the public. Activists, community leaders, and everyday people are still fighting for answers. But will it be enough? The biggest push right now. They want the Biden administration to step in. Because if the US won't arrest anyone and they won't extradite the suspect to Mexico, then what options are left? Will the White House take action? Or will this case become another unsolved mystery, we may never know the full truth case that just fades away? That's what the world is waiting to see. And time is running out. Through all of this, one voice has never wavered. Shanquella's mother, Shanquella Robinson, has been fighting since day one. And she has one message. I just want justice for my daughter. And honestly, she deserves it. Not just for herself, not just for her daughter, but for every family who has ever had to fight against a system that refuses to give them answers. Because if this case proves anything, it's this. Justice isn't automatic. You have to fight for it. And even then, there's no guarantee you'll get it. This case is about more than just one tragedy. It has forced an uncomfortable conversation, one that people can't ignore anymore. Because this isn't just about Shanquella, it's about what her case represents. It's about the dangers of toxic friendships. Shanquella trusted these people. She called them friends. How many times do we ignore red flags? How well do we really know the people around us? The responsibility of law enforcement? There's an arrest warrant, a suspect, and clear evidence, so why no action? If the US won't prosecute and they won't extradite, what does that say about our system? How many other families have faced the same roadblocks? The power of social media in fighting for justice. If that video never went viral, would we even be talking about this case? How many cases go unnoticed every day? How many families never get justice because no one is paying attention? But here's the real question. Will any of this actually lead to change? Or will this just be another tragic case that people talk about for a while and then forget? So where does the case stand right now? Well, nowhere. No one is in jail. No arrests have been made. No charges have been filed in the US. No one has been extradited to Mexico. In other words, no justice. The people who were with Shanquella when she died are still free, living their lives. And that raises a chilling question. What happens next? Will authorities ever take action? Or will this case remain one of the most blatant injustices we've ever seen? This case isn't over, and it won't be over until there are answers, until someone is held accountable. Because if Shanquella Robinson can be killed on vacation and no one is punished, who's next? This isn't just about one woman. This is about all of us. And we need to keep asking questions. We need to keep demanding justice. Because if we don't, they'll just get away with it.